Welcome to Shut Up and Say Something. I am your host and creator of the show, Deedre Daniel. This podcast is all about how to live a fascinating life, and we're learning how to do that one interesting conversation at a time. We try to stay away from discussing politics, religion, and the ad nauseum topic du jour, but anything else is fair game. And today I am speaking with Jae Choe. Jae is the owner and master instructor of the famed Karate Beyond dojo here in Lakeland, Florida. And he is also the host of a popular Lakeland-centric podcast, the Jae Choe Show. And he was recently featured in the Lakelander magazine as one of the top 10 people to know. And I already know him, so I can cross that off the list. Anyway, I met Jae at a Rotary Club lunch. I was there speaking about a nonprofit that I started called The Big Fat Tip. And Jae asked me to be on his podcast, which we recorded in February 2020, just before the world shut down.
Are you still doing the Big Fat Tip?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we've
awesome.
done $35,000 tips. So 35 surprise $1,000 tips so far.
$1,000 can really make somebody's day. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What a great thing that you got.
Oh, thank you. So I'm having Jae on today because he told me that he went to college to be a landscape architect and decided that wasn't the life he wanted. So he rebelled, breaking free from parental expectations, pressures from society, and all that. And I thought we'd talk about that today. But before we jump in, I want to know how the Tom Segura show was last week.
Oh my God, it was so good. I'm a fan of Tom Segura, so I've seen his stand-up specials on Netflix, and I want to say there's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're each just hilarious, and it's raunchy humor, right? And it was here at the RP Funding Center. I went with 3 other friends, and you could tell a lot of the audience, they were ready for that kind of comedy because they knew the comedian. But then you would see not so enthusiastic reactions from some people that I don't know how they got the tickets for it, but it was just funny to see unenthused reactions to some really explicit comedy. Yeah, but it was
Tom's hilarious. I wanted to see that. I wanted to go so badly, but when I found out he was coming to town, I was supposed to be out of town. Then plans changed, and then I couldn't get a ticket at the last minute. I thought, oh, I'd love to see him, but I was hoping that the Lakeland audience represented well, so that all of his friends would then want to come here and do shows as well.
Yeah.
So, do you think he was happy with the crowd?
I think so. Hey, the group of us that were there were laughing enough for everybody. So, yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I love his bit about meeting Mike Tyson on the airplane.
I didn't get that one.
You haven't heard that one?
No.
Oh, shoot. He really makes fun of Mike Tyson, but he does it in such a way, like he does this high-pitched voice. Tom! He's talking to him. It's hilarious. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, all right. You got to check that out. So I think it's some of his older stand-up because he's a little fluffier then.
Yeah, he's definitely fit now. He's fit. Like apparently he works out twice a day. He hardly drinks these days, apparently, and he watches what he eats.
Do you think that's helped his comedy or hurt it?
I think it helped his comedy because he's coming from a place of maturity and responsibility. Him and his wife, they have 2 boys, and so it's coming from a place of responsibility, and you're more vested into what you're doing as a career. That's maturity stuff. So I think it's great.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, you made a drastic career change earlier on. I thought maybe you could talk about that.
I graduated from University of Florida with a degree from the College of Architecture with a bachelor's in landscape architecture. So I had it in my mind that I was going to come out of college and work for places that design resorts and golf courses and so on. And so that was a very idyllic picture that I had. My college experience was quite a colorful one and a lot of fun. But the reality of going to school for something and then coming out and making it a career are 2 completely different things. Just didn't want to be in a cubicle anymore. I didn't want to clock in, proverbial 9 to 5. It just did not suit my personality. And so,
well, how many years did you do that? So you go through all this
schooling, over 3 years. A little over 3 years, going on 4, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
So you're in your mid-20s when you decided.
Yeah.
Okay, so mid-20s, you said, screw the cubicle life, I'm out. So what did you do?
Yeah. I moved to Los Angeles. I moved to Los Angeles and I lived there for 6 years doing all sorts of different stuff.
Like what?
From before the mortgage crisis, I was working for a mortgage firm, a brokerage house in Beverly Hills. I worked at a call center. So at night, I would sell psychic hotline minutes. One of the most entertaining jobs I've ever had was working for a psychic hotline, not as a psychic. How these places would work is you'd see an advertising, and this is kind of pre-social media, pre-internet, like just as MySpace was kind of blowing up type thing.
Just late at night, there's the phone number, call, and
Oh
they,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh
right.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so people would see these advertisings, late night television, and they'd call in, but now you have to go through somebody to purchase a block of time. And so whether it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, hour, so on, you'd have to prepay. And so they would first call in, get the information, right? And I'd have to sell them on, purchasing minutes, right? And normally it's like an introductory offer of like $10 or 10 minutes, something like that. Those minutes would go by real quick and then they'd have to get more. So yeah, that was a fun job.
Did they ask you, like, is this psychic any
the
good?
psychic any good? Oh yeah, absolutely. And working at this place, you were encouraged on a regular basis to get your reading done. And I'm a skeptical hippo, so I didn't really buy into the whole psychic thing. But some people did. Some people really needed to talk to somebody, or they needed to get some kind of advice from a complete stranger. And
did people start asking you for advice before they would buy the minutes? They didn't do that?
No, they would ask me like, who would I recommend to, to talk about their love life or money or family or health, something. And I would direct them to the people that were working from them. That's like one of the ultimate stay-at-home work jobs, by the way, is to be a psychic.
But you said you were an actor too.
Dabbled for a while. I was a starving actor, glorified extra in many a film. That was interesting too. That was a young person's game, right? Got the energy to go audition and get turned down, time and time again. But then you get older and you're like, hey, you can't keep this pace up anymore. And so yeah, I saw the writing on the wall and I stopped. Yeah, those are probably the more notable experiences, was working at a psychic hotline, doing the whole mortgage thing, and acting. Yeah.
Now, did any given time, did your parents try to pull you back, get you back to using your degree?
Always.
I mean, what kind of?
Oh yeah, absolutely, always, yeah. Or I'll get hit up by a friend, say, hey, we got an opening. You think about coming back, that sort of thing. But no.
And you never ever thought, okay, that's a stable job, I'm going to go back and do that?
Well, stability in my mind at the time, stability was something that can always be had. At least I thought, optimistically, is like, oh, I'll be responsible and get a solid, well-paying job later, right? I want to go ahead and pursue this passion thing and try to make it, if you will. And if I don't, then that's fine. I'll just move back to doing a stable job. But when you're a young person, I think you should go with your passion and try your best to pursue.
Is there I don't want to say deadline, but is there a date that you think, okay, now you got to grow?
Well, I think there's just a maturity level that you hit, right? For me, it was just a moment where, okay, you're not going to be so young anymore doing this thing. And one day you're going to look back and say, hey, you're just going to have to build a life. And I wanted family, and I wanted family. And so I thought, you know what, this is not really going to put me in that direction. So I need to go ahead and move on. Yeah.
I see. And what did you learn during that period of time? So you're encouraging everyone else to do that. You're like, you know what, get out there, try it.
You don't want to live a life of a regret, right? If you have a passion and you have a pursuit, you have something in your mind that you want to do and experience, then if you're a young person, then why not? Go ahead, go for it. You might fail. That's okay.
Okay, so what about somebody who went to school, had a career, 20 years, now they just have that itch because they never went out and followed their passion? Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're in a fortunate position where you're financially stable enough to be able to pull that off, then by all means, go right on ahead. But if you still relying on 9 to 5 to pay the bills, the mortgage, send kids to school, health insurance, that sort of thing, then that's a tough proposition.
Yeah, it is. I always tell people that they need early on to start saving up for a freedom fund because it's going to happen and you're going to want to break free from your circumstances. You need to do that. So then if you look at all your little purchases day in and day out, like, I need to add money to my freedom fund because it's going to
Right.
happen. Not
Yeah.
retirement, not vacation, not a gift fund or whatever. This is, I need to break free. I need to go do something, follow that passion.
Right.
Because it's hard.
Mhm.
You get anchored down by all of these things and then you can't. I really don't like the concept of someone only pursuing their passions when they're younger. We should be able to do that at any stage of our life. And I really think this is where the side hustle comes in. And those allow you to pursue your passions or, investing in real estate or finding other sources of secondary income so that you can have more life satisfaction.
There's this too. For instance, I still have, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but I still have that bug, if you will, that performance bug, right? Where every now and again I'll get called to do commercial, right? And even my kids too. We did a commercial for, I don't know whether or not it's aired yet, but it's for a big educational company that's nationwide. So me and my daughter were actually featured in that commercial.
Oh, that's great.
And
I
so
love that.
And that was nice. And it was a father-daughter type thing. Even before that, there was a print ad for, again, another educational company that's like nationwide that, found us. My kids were part of that. So, yeah, it's good. Yeah, maybe I will start doing gigs again because I really like that medium. It's just a lot of fun.
So are you on any kind of list so that these agents can find you and offer you these gigs?
Like a friend of a friend would refer me, or I would know the producer or the director or somebody. They're like, hey, we're looking for somebody like you and your family. And they would just hit me up.
Okay.
As simple as that. Yeah.
Can you recommend any lists or servers or what have you that people could get on for these kind of side hustle gigs? Because that's a great happy medium for someone who can't just ditch it all, but they'd still like to do some of this work. There's got to be a way to get out there.
So fortunately for people that want to get into doing commercials, right? And I don't want to say like commercial acting or, or being in film or television, just being in front of the camera and getting paid for it. You'll need to get high quality headshots from a photographer that's known in the industry for producing. And we're not talking like 1980s Barbizon or I don't know if the older people, if you're
it was like glamour shots,
right? Glamour shots. So we're not talking glamour shots or going to JCPenney and getting getting photos at JCPenney, and not to like besmirch JCPenney, but definitely to besmirch Barbizon and glamour shots. Don't do that.
So everyone needs a feather boa around them.
Yeah, absolutely. Get the thumb and the fist right here.
Yes.
Right? So getting headshots done, you can get multiple agents, right? So multiple representation. Agencies, they'll have your headshot, they'll have your resume if you have one. They will get a breakdown every day of jobs that are out there, from print advertising, television, film roles. And if you meet like certain specs, if you will, right? Let's say for me, they're looking for a middle-aged Asian man that looks like a dad type, right? And so then they'll send out headshots and resume on your behalf. And if they're interested in you, they'll call the agency, and the agency will call you with a time to show up and do an audition if that was what they're looking for. And you go and audition for the part if there is indeed an audition. And if you get the role, then great. You get the role.
So when you walk in, you see all of these dad types?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the same guys over and over. I mean, that dad type now, right? If I were to go back and do it again. But back when is, young, I don't know, whatever said the description that I was back then.
I like how you're censoring yourself.
What do you mean? Like,
you're like, the young studly type. Since I walked in, it was all the studs,
Oh, I wish I was the Studley type, but no. There was many a better man than out there than me. Yeah.
Aw. Okay, so your parents obviously didn't like this. So they were telling you when you had broken away from college to go live your dream. How do you push back on something like that? And when your children want to go live their dream, are you going to do the same thing? Are you going to say, "Yep, you're young, go
Uh,
live your dream"?
it, having kids now, and if they said that they're going to do exactly what I did, I would
Uh-huh.
say, go ahead, go knock yourself out,
Wow.
100%.
Good
Yeah,
dad. Yeah.
I would, because I understand. At least I hope I don't get to the point where I forget what that was like, right?
Mm.
Of that a young person's passion, young person's dream, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
I think they should pursue it. I really do.
But it's really hard to pursue your dreams, especially when you have all these pressures and expectations around you, and
Mhm.
your parents were expecting you to live a certain life and you push back on that. Like, how did you get the courage to even push back?
You only get one. You only get one of these, one shot, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
At being what you are,
Mhm.
right? Why would you bother being someone else's version
Mhm.
of your existence? It makes zero sense. Just as
Right.
long as you're not hurting yourself or somebody else, you need to be you. You need to be
Mhm.
you always. Otherwise, you're living somebody else's dream.
Was it your dream to open up your own dojo?
Yes.
And when did that start brewing in the back of your mind?
It was always in the back of my mind. I come from a martial arts family, and my father, who did a great thing for a lifetime,
Mhm.
created this thing that's still going to this day, and it's great. But I had a different blueprint. I had different plans in mind, and so again, you got only one shot at being you. You just need to
Mhm.
go ahead and do that, and so that's what I did.
Now, somehow I accidentally developed a martial arts theme in my podcast in the last few episodes. Joanna Pineda, she is a black stripe in Hapkido. She's also a black belt in Taekwondo. And then Mike Mandel, who was in last episode, he's the master instructor of a British version of jujitsu.
Hmm.
And now I understand you teach a different version of karate.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Karate Beyond is a modernized version of traditional martial arts. So, a modern execution on traditional martial arts is you distill what is great about traditional martial arts, which is a lot of the character building aspects, a lot of the formality and the traditions behind all that, and you retain the best values of it, but you infuse it with techniques and practices that are going to work and be practical. And so that's what Karate Beyond is. Like, for instance, we don't do any weapons of any kind. We're not wielding nunchucks or bow staffs or, you know, swords and throwing knives. We're not doing any of that. We're not practicing in traditional clothing, traditional martial arts apparel. We're not in those as well. So those are two examples of how we separate ourselves from traditional martial arts. And we put a premium on physical fitness. We put a premium on techniques that are very applicable to self-defense and fighting.
Mhm.
And we center a lot of what we do on those things. Versus, traditional martial arts will do a lot of very formal things where you're dressing in the robe and you're bowing a lot, which is good.
Mhm.
You're putting your hands in positions that would never, ever put in a realistic street confrontation.
Like what?
Um,
What do you mean?
like putting your hands down low around your waist.
Mm.
Like if you're in a fighting situation, your hands are near your head, near your face, and not down where your waistline is. Not saying that there is going to be instances where that doesn't occur, but if you look at things like the UFC, mixed martial arts in general, it's
Mhm.
mixed martial arts in general is a great proving ground on things that are going to work realistically. And
I see.
so
Mhm.
you're not going to see a lot of like a Steven Seagal type martial arts practice like Hapkido, Aikido. You're not going to see a lot of that. I mean, hey, if they do show up and they start doing Aikido and Hapkido
Mhm.
techniques in the UFC, hey, I'm all for it. I'd love to see it. I hope it works, but realistically, you're not going to see that. And for the people that do practice those, and they're beautiful, beautiful art forms, but it just takes a long, long time to get anywhere good at being someone that can pull it off.
I see.
And I'm going in the weeds right now with martial
No,
arts,
I like it.
but yeah.
I think it's great. And for somebody who decides I need to get into better physical shape, I'm going to get into martial arts. Is there something that you would recommend to someone who, let's say, is in their early 30s or later and they decide, yeah, I'm going to do this?
You know,
What would you
I get,
recommend?
I get the question a lot. It's like, a lot of families or individual adults, they'll say, I'd love to get into martial arts. But the fact of the matter is, when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're going to start to see a breakdown in how your body recovers from injury.
Sure.
And so the older you get, the less impact that you're going to have to sustain in order to maintain a level of fitness and a level of health and well-being. You can't be knocking your body around. You can't be getting the bumps and bruises all the time and expect to bounce back quick as if you were in your 20s or early.
Yeah.
So even myself, I'm very, very careful on how I practice. I try to make it as low impact as possible, high on the cardio end and the strength building, but again, impact. And when it comes to traditional martial arts, such as like a karate or a striking based style, the older you get, the less impact you actually need. The less impact that you can actually sustain.
Okay.
You got to save your back. You got to save your main points, your knees, your shoulders. So I say, you know what? How about this? Do yoga for a month and then call me. See how you did with yoga, because that requires zero contact. Okay. And then call me. Now, if you really want to learn striking, like for instance, my place is a very family oriented establishment. So there's a lot of kids. So you'll see a lot of dads and their daughters, or moms and their sons, or vice versa. And where they'll be practicing with their child. Right. And that's great. And I encourage it, but we keep things very low impact as possible.
I see.
But even then, though, you still got to be careful, because you're not a spring chick.
Right.
You get hurt, you may be out for a few weeks, whether you like it or not. I push yoga on everybody. I'm like, do yoga. If you really want to do like some sort of martial arts, if you will, if you can sustain doing yoga for a month, then you can come see me. You really want to be serious about it. And here I am turning people away. I'm like turn people away all the time. You're in your 40s, you want to do martial arts? Dude, I'm in my 40s, right? And you see me on the mat, and I hurt my back. I got a messed up ankle, right? A sketchy knee. It's hard.
Yeah,
I
and
go
you know
on
what you're
walks.
doing.
I go on walks and I do push-ups a lot.
Well, speaking of sweat, do your armpits smell?
Do mine smell?
Yes. Do they
Yeah,
smell?
I guess a little bit.
Do they really? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, doesn't everybody smell?
No,
That's a random
no.
question, by the way.
Well, I'm getting ready to explain why. So I wound up in a rabbit hole of information about different genes, and there's one called the ABCC11, which supposedly everyone from Korea has, with the exception of just a few, and it means you don't have smelly armpits. And 2% of Europeans have this gene. Yep, no smelly armpits. So that's why I thought I'd ask you.
Okay. So I know that my body odor is not as extreme as most people. That I'm very confident with. So whenever you say that whole ABCD gene thing, it makes sense. Now, do my armpits smell? I mean, hell, if I'm working out and I've been out, being physically active all day, I'm sure at the end of the day, I probably have a little odor. Why not? But not as
I have
extreme as some people.
yeah, there are definitely some people a little bit more pungent than others. I have a relative that I'm pretty sure has that gene, because it doesn't matter how sweaty he gets, his armpits do not smell. I'm not going to say his name because he'll get mad about it, which is kind of a funny thing to get mad about. Like, don't tell people I don't smell, but I'm pretty sure he might have this
That's like
gene.
that's like a superhero trait,
It totally is.
Laser vision, power of flight, no odor.
Yeah, right? I'm really jealous about it, quite frankly. I'm like, man, and it's called the ABCC11. That's the gene. So you can look that up later. But yeah, So I thought, oh shoot, I gotta ask Jay when I have you on the podcast.
Crazy, wow, this
Yeah.
is crazy, Gene.
Yeah, because then I was like, maybe they don't even sell deodorant in Korea. Because what do you need it for if an entire population doesn't have stinky armpits?
I've never seen deodorant stores in Korea. So
There you
so
go.
it's funny that you say that, because I don't see people wearing it, using it, or nothing. So
They
there you
don't
go.
need it. They
Yeah.
don't need it. Yeah.
I
So
know
you don't either.
if I eat a lot of garlic, I will
Uh-huh.
I'll sense it. I'll sense it.
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. That comes right out of your pores. That just does. So my husband bought me some new deodorant recently, and it's called Fresh Mistletoe is the scent. And I thought, all right, first off, who came up with this idea and who named this, but also who's gonna make out under my armpits? Like I don't understand. Like I don't understand this deodorant at all. And I thought, do I just saunter into Black and Brew and I see a couple that's obviously on a first date? I'm like, I'm going to speed things up for them and just raise my arm over the table. Like, go ahead, lean in. I know, you want to make out under these armpits. Now.
that's so strange. That is so strange. Oh my God. No,
Yeah.
the internet is a wild and wonderful place. And I hear all sorts of ways people, in particular ladies, make money selling things that personally belong to
Oh,
them.
like
You
dirty
know,
underwear?
like from that to like hair, nail
Hmm.
trimmings,
Nail
you name it.
trimmings.
Yeah, I've heard about that. They
Wow.
them their OnlyFans, right?
Uh-huh.
So wouldn't surprise me if someone said, "Hey, can you wipe your armpit with this towel and send it off, and I'll pay you whatever."
Well, they probably would. I think you had to have a biohazard license to ship dirty underwear, though.
Oh my God, that's so
I would
nasty.
I mean, I would imagine because you got like, there's possible stuff or what have you. I mean, I'm
Contaminants?
sure. Yes,
Just
possibly.
spread your dirty
Possibly.
COVID panties over the USPS.
Okay, I wonder who writes the descriptions on those. Like, this is the underwear from a nervous executive who was sitting in a board meeting just before a plan challenge. And
I
so she
mean,
had extra sweaty,
that
nervous
is
panties or something.
some premium content that I'm sure some people big bucks for.
I'm sure they would. Like, she ate some roasted garlic, had this awesome night
Oh,
at the
that's so
Italian
terrible.
restaurant. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, oh my God. That's nuts. But hey, I hear again people making a lot of money every single month doing that sort of thing, which boggles the mind. But I don't know if I have the gumption to pull that
What are
off.
they doing with fingernail trimmings? I almost worry they're going to clone you or something. Like they got your DNA
I,
and they're going to plant it somewhere or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, no, I was shipping it through to my fans. Like, well, we found your
Oh,
thumbnail with this murder scene. So what,
that's
what
so
are they doing with it?
that's so weird. You end up in the next episode of CSI.
It's time for the pet peeve segment. Everyone has those little things that annoy them, but we rarely mention them when we get to know someone. What are your pet peeves?
Loud eating.
Mm.
Loud eating is a pet peeve, but I do understand that loud eating is a cultural thing, right? Some cultures allow for loud eating depending on the dish. But man, if you're like talking and your mouth is open, I don't like it. That weirds
Yeah,
me
it's kind of
out.
gross. Yeah,
It
but I
really
know there are
does,
some
right?
cultures you're supposed to slurp and burp, and it's supposed to show that you're really
Yeah,
into the food, right?
right. And times I am too. So I mean, I'm guilty. But obviously, if I'm like seeing it or hearing it, then it just bugs me. Another pet peeve that I have is grooming. Right? If you're a guy and you've got Wolverine claws for fingernails and your toenails,
Ugh.
man, you got to get that checked out. That's just out of order. Another pet peeve. Oh yeah, the guys that like to go into public spaces with their speakerphone on
Mm.
and have a conversation with somebody on speakerphone in front of everybody.
And it's
Like,
never
I don't
interesting.
understand that one either.
Yeah, at
No,
least
it's never
give
interesting. It's
give
all
us
the
a
most
show.
mundane stuff. Yeah.
Right? Yep. I'm amazed you didn't mention this pet peeve. Jay has,
What?
there's this
Going.
woman
Oh,
who, I can't believe you didn't bring her up.
oh,
There's
it's
this
part
lake
part of
in,
Lakeland lore. Yeah, there's a lady that goes that almost daily causes traffic accidents. Well, I say almost. I'm sure she has, but yeah, she chooses to jog on the oncoming traffic on the road when there's a perfectly good lake sidewalk next to her.
for all the people that don't know what we're talking about, there are people that listen from all over the United States and other countries. Lake Hollingsworth is about 3 miles around, and people are walking around it and running and rollerblading and bicycling around it all hours of the day and night. And there's a beautiful sidewalk for this activity. And this woman refuses to use the sidewalk. She is in the road causing issues. And Jay has this, a lot of people have issues with it,
I'm
but
not the one
Jay's
that. Hey,
taken.
look, I would love to take the credit. I just make an innocent post every now and again about the said person, and then of course one innocent post yielded like God knows how many comments from all my Facebook friends. But yeah. But apparently she's a known perpetrator for doing this for well before I was made privy to it. So anyway, it's too funny.
And you dressed up like her for Halloween?
I can neither confirm nor deny the said costume.
Oh, does she have any idea how many people are upset by this at all? Or is she that clueless?
I don't think she cares, really. But yeah, I haven't seen it happen in a while, though. So I'll get text messages from people saying, hey, I saw that said person. And it hasn't happened. So yeah, I think it's
she belongs in a sitcom. It's going to be one of those characters that someone encounters, like, you're the one around the lake. Like they put two and two together and they figure
it's
out.
definitely a Seinfeld episode for sure.
What were you afraid of as a child? And what are you afraid of now?
When I was a kid, like bad guy characters such as Darth Vader and the Joker, right? When I was a little kid, those like ominous figures would always kind of freak me out a little bit. Not to the point where I'm not watching like Star Wars or watching Batman. It's like middle of the night, dark hallway, dark room. Oh, what if Darth Vader's behind that door kind of thing? And that's like from childhood, right? So that's a fear that I had as a kid. I mean, yeah, a little bit of a fear of heights, but not like debilitating. I think that's just naturally being scared of heights. I don't like roaches, although if I throw one away, I'll definitely grab a tissue and then pick it up. Spiders, snakes, lizards, and normal stuff, I think, right? But nothing debilitating. Yeah.
Rounding this out on a positive note, what are you looking forward to in the future?
Looking forward to Christmas break with my family, my kids, my wife. We're last minute vacation people. So we're trying to figure out where we're going to go over the break. We're thinking about going somewhere that's snowy and where the kids could snowboard and ski. So but on the East Coast, nothing too far.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
And now it's time for the very interesting game show. This isn't trivia. Throw accuracy out the window and give me your most ridiculous and creative answers instead. And let's see if you can come up with the most interesting answer. Are you ready?
The first one, what toy did you always want but never were allowed to have?
Toy that I always wanted but never allowed to have. Can I pass on that one? Because I think I've got.
Sure.
I was spoiled. I got everything I wanted. I think.
I wanted the Snoopy snow cone machine. I wanted a Light Bright. I wanted a Easy Bake Oven. I have a long list, and my mom was like, "No," she always thought I'd make a mess or something. So I couldn't have those things. I wanted all of.
You know what? I take that back. I wanted a tree house, and I never got a tree house. There it is.
I wanted a tree house too. That was another thing I wanted. All right. If you could take full credit for something and everyone would believe you, what would it be?
I brought the swans to Lakeland.
Love it.
And I'm also the one that brought the turkey that was there that one year.
Whatever happened to that turkey?
It died.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
All right. Very few English words rhyme with the word silver. Make up a word that rhymes with silver and give it a definition.
Something that rhymes with silver and give it a definition.
Yes.
Dilver.
Okay.
A
What is
dilver.
dilver?
A dilver is a dill pickle extractor made of silver.
Wow, look at that. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, where would be a funny or inappropriate place to post a Yelp review? So here's an example. Someone posts a Yelp review of a funeral and they wrote, "The crying seemed genuine. The casseroles were cold, but then again, so was the beer. And the crowd was kind of average to sort of good looking, 3 stars."
Okay. Inappropriate Yelp reviews. Public library bathrooms.
Okay.
Yelp reviews for public library bathroom.
I love it. I love it. So what is the review that you would write for the bathroom?
The review I would write would be, do they have actual paper towels? Or are they using the poo particle sprayer air machine thing dryer? Are there splash guards in the urinal, and are they scented? Are there anti-slip splash guards on the floors of the restrooms? And do they have where you could put your foot down next to the door to open the door without having to use your newly clean hands?
Yes.
That would be
Yes. That kind of reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where George got in trouble because he took a book from the bookstore into the bathroom. And then they said, "Sir, you're going to have to buy this book. We can tell that you've had it in the restroom with you." And I always do wonder, like, are people bringing library books into the bathroom?
Oh, gosh. Hey, what's going to be cleaner, that book or a dollar bill note?
Oh, yeah. This question I wrote last week. I've only heard one answer to it. You ready?
Okay.
All right. It was recently discovered that picking one's nose could lead to Alzheimer's. What could picking a wedgie lead to?
Well, hold on. Is this true?
Yes. So apparently the average person picks their nose about 4 times a day. But what they're talking about is people picking their nose with dirty fingers. And so this bacteria and what have you then is traveling to the brain. And so they think there might be some sort of connection thereof. But I know you're so grossed out right now. He just has his mouth open looking at me like, what are you saying?
Wow.
So what could picking a wedgie lead to?
Picking a wedgie could lead to colon cancer, probably, right? I don't know. Based on the Alzheimer's thing that you just gave me, right? If there's any correlation, you're going to get rectal cancer and tumors.
It's so awful. We're laughing at this.
It's so
We're like,
terrible.
rectal cancer. Ha ha. Okay. All right. So picking a wedgie. And next up, I wrote this question 1 hour ago. So you're the very first person to answer this. No pressure.
Okay.
You ready? Rats succumb to peer pressure. What do you think teenage rats dare each other to do?
Teenage rats probably dare each other to go and bite the cat's tail or something. That's what I would think. Or teenage rats would go bite a raccoon on the tail. Yeah. I think that would be the dare.
All right. I like it. And then for the last question, which is asked at the end of every episode, what should have been invented by now?
I got it. All
right. What do you got?
I've got refrigerant-free ice cream.
Oh, so it always stays cold, but it's not the astronaut ice cream.
No, I'm talking real deal ice cream that you do not have to freeze.
Wow. I've never heard that answer before, Jay.
If it stays in the package, it's going to remain in a frozen state. You don't have to slap it in the refrigerator for it or the freezer for it.
Yeah. I love that. Non-melting ice cream, especially at Coachella or Burning Man.
Oh, my God.
They want their ice cream that won't melt. The Disney parks, they would totally be loading up on mouse-shaped, unmeltable ice cream that's only slightly melts when you lick it.
Only in a container of the package.
Right. As soon as you lick it. Otherwise, it can't be ice cream. Okay. Are there any last words of advice that you want to give the listeners about following their passion?
You only get one. You only get one of these, right? At least that we know of. And just might as well be you and make the best of it. You can fail. It's quite all right, but better to live without the regrets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, Jay. How can people get in touch with you?
KarateBeyond.com It's on all the social medias, Karate Beyond Instagram, Facebook.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I love your answers to the questions. Well, bye, everyone. Until next time, be interesting. Next time I see you,
Thanks
I'm going
for
to smell
having
your
me on.
armpit. I'm smelling it. I'm going in.
Oh my God. I'll be freshly showered, hopefully. Okay.
No, I want you after a run. I want, like, a
Yeah.
big old walk around Lake Hollingsworth.